So yes, what is a cover letter or statement of purpose or personal statement or what else?
So, is there any difference between cover letter, statement of purpose, or personal statement?
First paragraph is more about introduction and how I write it. It should also be kind of an abstract to your whole thing. So in the first few lines and name of the university or name of the lab. And then in second line, you can introduce yourself that, okay, I have done my bachelor's and master's from this university.
There you have to mention what kind of research you have done. You specify the problem and you specify the research you have done.
Why this university? That is also an important thing. Why this university or why this specific program or why this specific lab or research group? That's an important session in the statement.
Or if you want to go into industry, you can also mention that, okay, the skills which I'll gain in this PhD, my experience with these machines.
3 people, 3 countries, and 1 long Zoom call. This is the Accidental PhDs, where 3 PhDs talk about research, science, grad school, and everything in between.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Accidental PhDs. I'm Karthik Sakarwal from University of Potsdam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Basil from University of Chicago, and this is another episode in our PhD application series.
Hello everyone, I'm Alok from Comenius University. So in this episode, we'll be talking how to draft SOP, how to draft cover letter, and personal statements.
Yeah, it's very important in your PhD application. So let's dive into it. So yes, what is a cover letter or statement of purpose or personal statement or what else? Letter of motivation, all these things. You've heard this while applying for PhD. So what is this and why it is important?
So cover letter is a document where you have the chance to persuade the professor that why you are the right fit for this position. Sometimes a mail is not required, and then you have to attach a cover letter with the email when you apply for positions. And in that, you basically connect your CV to the position where you're applying, to the research group where you're applying. So you have to persuade them that, okay, that you have gained all these experience in your CV, you have done this work, and why it is needed in the PhD position where you're applying. And you have to show your interest, that you have read their work, which work are you specifically interested in. So it's basically you're trying to just persuade them to take you in and to tell them that you are the right fit for this position.
Okay, so is there any difference between cover letter, statement of purpose, or personal statement? Basil, would you like to start with
Yeah,
this?
I'm happy to start with that. Okay, so you're talking about Karthik was mentioning the term cover letter. So is it same as a motivation letter or a personal statement or a statement of purpose, SOP, right? So basically, there is no big difference between all these things. More or less, all these are aimed for a single purpose, that is showing your interest and showing your background. There are some technical differences between these, mainly between personal statement and SOP or motivation letter, in which personal statement you can give more emphasis towards your personal background. You can talk um, more about your personal life as a researcher or someone who is interested in science and all those things. For example, you can even include a childhood story in which you got interested into science. You can talk about how different courses and different works or different projects has shaped you as a scientist or a researcher. This can be added in personal statement, and most of the time personal statements are only needed for US universities where they need a more a good quality essay in which someone who reads that essay will get an idea about the personality of the person who is applying for the program. For SOP, or let's say motivation letter or cover letter, it's more or less same, in which you are only discussing about your academic background, your research background, why are you applying for this program, what are the background that you have to be selected for this program and everything. So these are the major difference, but I would say everything is same. So it's just different terms. But there is one thing called research statement, in which you are basically proposing a research proposal sort of thing, in which you are writing the statement of the research topic that you're going to do. What are you interested in doing? How are you approaching that research problems? That is quite different from a statement of purpose and not letter of recommendation, motivation letter or personal statement. But others are more or less same. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, in Europe, like applications, whenever we see any applications in Europe, we go to websites and they mention it everything that what you have to write it. If you're writing a cover letter, you have what you have to mention there. They specify it. So basically, they want to see your qualities in which you are good or bad. So they mention all these things to write while writing cover letter or motivational letter, right, Karthik?
Yeah. Also, one more difference is the one which you write in US, the personal statement is quite lengthy, I guess. It's 2 or 3 pages long.
You can
But the
write
one
more.
in Europe, either it's specified that to be very specific for about 1 page, 1.5 page. And even if it is not specified, it should be 1 page, not bigger than that. That's the accepted norm that your motivation letter or cover letter should be around 1.5 page at max.
That's true. I mean, my personal statement starts with a dialogue of a teacher uh, talking about me. That the point is, it's like an essay or story in which you are building a story about yourself. In Europe, you should never do that. It's like directly talking why I'm apt for this research group. It's not about your childhood story in which you applied for you attended a science fest and you got interested. Don't say all those things. But in US, in personal statements, you can include some of your stories that made your interest into science. Yeah.
So the US one is more personalized, while the one in Europe is more professional
Yeah.
and more
Yes,
more
it's
concerning your
yeah.
work.
I think we should start discussing about what are the things generally in a personal statement or SOP. What are the things that you should write in an order of writing, basically. So let's talk about the first paragraph. So what are the things that we should include in the first paragraph?
So the first paragraph is more about introduction. And how I write it, it should also be kind of an abstract to your whole thing. So in the first few lines, you can introduce yourself, and in the next few lines, you can just put a summary kind of thing in 2 lines or 3 lines, that the experiences which you have and why you're the right fit for this thing. So how I usually start is, in first line, you write why you are writing this cover letter. So that in first line, I would write, I am writing to express my interest in this PhD position in this name of the project, if you already know the name, and name of the university or name of the lab. And then in second line, you can introduce yourself that, okay, I have done my bachelor's and master's from this university in this field. So your field would be specified, your college would be specified. And then in third line, I write about my research interest, that, okay, my research interest lie in this field. It should be a particular field, not my research interest lie in physics or something. It should be a particular subtopic in which they are working on. So your intro is done here. And in the next line, you write why you are a suitable fit. That you can write, okay, that I have experience. I have 1 year of experience of working in a wet lab, chemistry lab, and which I believe would be very necessary for this position, something like that. So it gives an impression that, okay, you could be a right candidate for this thing. So that first intro paragraph would be done. After that, we can move on to the next paragraph.
That will be the research experience. You have to explain in detail about the previous research experiences, right? Hello?
Yes. So, okay, so in the second paragraph, we mentioned about the research experiences that we have already. So we start with the masters because we have spent lots of time in doing master's thesis. There you have to mention what kind of research you have done. You specify the problem and you specify the research you have done. You have to mention the lab name. You have to mention the professor name with whom you have worked. And then other research experiences like internships, right? Or apart from this, if you have done any kind of project related to this topic, then you have to mention it. You have to mention the name of the instruments that you have worked with. You have to mention the uh, coding or software skills there that you have worked with while doing this research, and it is important in doing your PhD. So you have to mention all these things, and if there are some internship or any other thing that is even not matching with your PhD topic, then you can just mention it at the last. But if any research that is matching with the topic, that you have to mention it earlier. You have to explain these things in bit details. But if there is any intensity that is not matching, you don't need to explain it. You just need to mention it.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing, like the skills which you mentioned, that I have experience in Python, experience in C++ or something, rather than writing it that you have experience, you can show it in the paragraph while explaining that, okay, while processing the data, I used Python or I used this software to do this. That will show
Yes.
more that you know these things, right? The skills which you have gained, rather than just writing, I have experience in Python.
This is basically the difference between CV and SOP. You see, CV is basically you're saying I have this. Here you're saying,
Yes.
okay, I was looking to the climate modeling. So for understanding the PCA, principal component analysis, I did the MATLAB coding for these things like that. You can just include that how you applied those skills. That. Yeah. I mean, after the research, then maybe we can go to why this university. That is also an important thing. Why this university, or why this specific program, or why this specific lab or research group. That's an important session in the statement. So you have to justify that why you are interested in this program, and what are the things that you will get from the program, and what are the things that you can contribute to the program or contribute to the research that they are doing. So it should be in both way. It's not like I am really interested. I will get all these things. It also should also mention that I have these expertises which can be contributed towards this project. So that should be compelling in sense. That's an important paragraph in which you are explaining why I'm matched for this program and why I'm applying for this.
Yeah. One more thing you can add. While you are writing why you are choosing this particular university, there you can mention that this university is very good to have international collaborations and so things like
Instruments. If it
facilities,
has good instruments for
instrument,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, rather
facilities.
than writing good instruments, you should specifically mention the instrument that will help you in your research.
Exactly.
Never
Yes, yes,
do blanket statements like this is they have good state-of-art instruments. Never use such things. You just say, okay, they have this specific focused ion beam scanning electron microscopy, which is specifically good for the project I'm looking for. And hence, so for writing such statements, you should go to their website, read
yes.
all the facilities they have, and match the research interest that you have with this. That's a good point. I have added this because for my specific program, I need these instruments, and I'm very happy that this institute has all these facilities which can be utilized for the research questions that I'm asking.
Yeah, also it's very important to visit the lab page. If they have a web page, you should visit them, see what kind of research they are doing, see the latest projects which they have been working on. If there are any recent papers from that professor, read those papers. If you can't read the full paper, at least read the abstract, introduction, and just the discussion part of the paper. And if you find something very interesting, or if you have some questions from that, try to include that into your cover letter or motivation letter. And then you can write, okay, I read this papers of yours and I found this very interesting thing. And I am also interested in the same topic. Or if you have any question which you can pose, a good question. You don't have to sound like you're making it on purpose, but if you have a genuine question, then you can pose it there. It would be a very personalized thing.
Yeah, adding to that, if you're applying for a US universities, your personal statement or SOP will not be to a specific professor. So it is not advised to write these questions to for a specific professor. For Europe, you're directly applying for a specific professor and specific lab. So you can definitely write these things. But in US, it will be this US statement of purpose and everything will be going to a committee of professors or maybe administrators and all. So keep it quite general.
Yeah, like there is also a case like there could be many professors. It's a group of people working there, and you can find it. Like you can also mention that this group would be very helpful for me because these are the expertise that are there in these groups, right? You can work with these people there. So these things will be catchy. Like they will get to know that this guy have really done a good research and why he has found that why he want to come here. So
yeah, adding to that, for US, you have to mention, as I've mentioned, that you are not directly your personal statement or SOP is not directly to a single professor. Hence, you have to mention which professor you are interested in, so that the committee can decide whether this professor is going to take this student or not. So, why this university? In towards the end of that statement, why this department or something, towards the end of that paragraph, you have to mention, I'm specifically interested in these three professors in the preference order. You can mention the first professor or your first preference and write a small paragraph why this professor's research work matches with you. So there will be the specialized thing, like specialized towards a specific professor. Then give the second preference. This is the second preference that I have from the department and why his interest matches me, and the third preference. So this is very important, so that even if you have contacted with one single professor and you have an interview and it's everything went well, even though you are confident that that professor is going to take you, you should definitely mention at least one or two other professors in your second or third preference, so that this a committee is going to decide these things. So they should get an idea that, okay, this candidate has a good matching profile for more than one professor in the department, so that he can collaborate with everyone. Also, if something goes wrong with one of his project after joining, he can even shift the lab to a different lab because he has matching interest with some other professors also. So it's always good to include a preference order of professors that you are interested in.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about these things when applying for Europe.
in Europe, yeah.
And coming to the extracurricular, as sometimes extracurricular adds to the value of your profile in some sense. For example, in US, it's very important. In Europe also, if some of the extracurricular adds to the value of your application. For example, Alo can explain like what are
Yeah.
things.
For example, if you are in sports, let's say, okay, and you are applying for geology, they write it like if there is an advertised position, they write it that this the applicant should be fit, basically. So if you are
To lift
mentioning
the
that you
rocks.
have, yeah, you have done this field work. Geology, you can mention you have done field works. You have yeah, also you can mention you have played these sports. So they will get to know that this person is fit, and then you will go for that. And there, of course, there you will be going for field work and you will be doing lots of physical work there. Apart from this, other extra co-curricular activities like outreach activities. So this explains, like, you are a researcher. In outreach activities, we go to schools or some places where the school students are there, and it is very difficult to explain them your research. So if you have been part of those things, then they will get to know that this guy knows how to explain research to different level of people, right? So that would be like helpful for them, that this guy has understanding, he can
Yeah,
understand. Yeah.
that is
Apart
very
and
important.
what Yes.
And because communication skills are really, really required while applying for a
Yes.
PhD. They really check for your communication skills. That's one of the main requirements, I would say. So I always include a paragraph in my cover letter for my to show them that okay, my conversation skills are good. That if we have tutored, like we tutored in fifth year,
Yeah.
we taught a batch of 50 students. I would write this. Okay, I have taught a batch of 50 students. And if we have, as you said, outreach programs, they show that you know how to explain your stuff. Or if you have given talk, like we had an Earth Club in our college where we used to sometimes present our research, give talks, these things. And if you have lab meetings, I also used to write that okay, we used to have lab meetings. I mean, you should just write it in a different way, maybe.
Yeah.
But this all these things portray that okay, you have good communication skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you can add these things like if you have given any poster presentations,
Yeah.
let's say in our DS day, we used to present our posters,
Mhm.
or we are giving oral presentation. All these things are very necessary. You can, if you have won some awards in these presentations, you can mention that also.
Yeah. Also, yeah, everything, even if you're mentioning everything, it should be concise and don't
Yeah.
explain it too much. Just mention all those things that they will get an idea. Also, if you have been, I've added, like, I was part of some NGOs which were working towards like communicating science or education field and all those things. So these will add to the value that, okay, you are a good person to work in a team, to communicate, to engage in a team, because research is all about collaboration, working in a team. So
Yeah.
have all these qualities. Also, some programs may even ask like driving license. Some of them need a driving license. If you have it, only those with a driving license can apply something. So if the program specifically asks for such things, mention those things also. I have these things in specifically. Yeah.
So one paragraph should be about your future goals, not your immediate goals, but what you will be doing after your PhD. So you can say if you want to end up as a researcher, you can say that this PhD would be really crucial for me to establish my career as a researcher. Or if you want to go into industry, you can also mention that okay, the skills which I'll gain in this PhD, my experience with these machines and with these data sets or these processes would be really helpful for me to find a job in the industry. So yeah, you can talk about that in a paragraph. And with after that, you can finish and do a concluding paragraph in which you can just say that I look forward to meeting the research group and later have an in-depth discussion, something about that. Or you can also say that I firmly believe that the skills which I have would be quite useful for this PhD position, and I'm looking forward to potentially contribute to your group. Something like this as a concluding line.
Which is not needed in USA, but just for Europe. For USA, you can stop with the broader goals itself. Another important thing is that there are several AI platforms that you can write stuff, but never use those things in completely, in a sense that you are not giving any sort of effort in writing and giving AI to write your personal statement. It's very easy to understand whether it is written by AI or whether it's written by a human being. So I'm not saying that you cannot use AI. You can use AI to edit it, to check for grammar mistakes, to make the sentence more beautiful, more concise, but never start with AI. Start with yourself. Write yourself and ask AI to make it better.
Yeah, AI uses very complicated words. Don't use those complicated words in your cover letter. I would say just try to use simple words which everyone can understand.
Yeah, it's not about it's never about the language. English is, you are not applying for a like PhD in English literature or something. It's not about language. Even some of the professors, for example, in Europe, their first language is not English. If you are using all these complicated words, a French professor may think, what is he saying? Because they are also speaking English as we are speaking English. So their
Yes.
first language is not at all English, and you don't have to use all these complicated words from literatures and all to show that I'm very. Even if you use all these complicated words by your own without using AI, people will think it's AI. It's not his words, because that's the world scenario now. So keep it simple. It's not about essay writing competition.
So in the coming episode, we'll be discussing about how to crack interview and how to ask a professor for letter of recommendations. Till then, tata, bye bye, see you.
Bye.